So you frantically wake up because you overslept. I mean, that panics everybody, doesn't it? And so you get dressed, you get ready to go for the day, you run downstairs, you have your quick cup of coffee, you get your keys, and you head to the car. You put it in, and it and it just won't crank. You discover that you have no gas in the tank. And that's what it's like trying to learn or teach without motivation. You see, motivation is the fuel that keeps us going. And without that fuel, there's nothing but frustration, there's nothing but discouragement, there's nothing but despondence that's going to come along, and we're really going to have a bad day, just like we would if we were running late and our car would not crank. So whether you're a teacher or a student, motivation is what keeps the engine going. Initially, that flame to get going, but then we got to have motivation to keep things moving along. So why does motivation matter in education? Well, motivation is what gets the student started, but it's also what keeps them going. You see, a motivated student or even a teacher will try harder. They will stick with it longer, and they'll feel proud of what they have accomplished and what they've done. And teachers feel the exact same way. That when students are motivated, the classroom feels alive. So happy teachers make happy classrooms, make happy learning, but motivated teachers enrage and engage the students to do so much more. Well, there really is something to keep in mind. Where there is no reward for good behavior and no consequence for bad behavior, there will be no motivation at all. And so we definitely want to look at the positives of motivation. Now, there are two types of motivations that I want to discuss just for a couple of minutes. The first one is extrinsic motivation. That's that outside push. It comes from getting a reward, or it comes from, I'm going to work and do this so that I can get recognition, or it may even come from pressure. Examples of that could be, I'm going to work hard to get good grades, or I'm only going to work so that I get praise out of this, or it's because of the stickers or the candy or the prize that I'm going to get is really my motivation to get this thing done. Also, the fear of punishment is one of the reasons people will use extrinsic motivation, It works, but it doesn't really work very long. It only works for a while. You see, extrinsic motivation can light a fire under someone, but it's intrinsic motivation that lights the fire from within. And that's also something I want to talk about is intrinsic motivation. It's that inside drive. You see, it comes from within the student. It comes from within the person. Like getting satisfaction for reading a book. And I'm going to read a book not just to read it, but because I enjoy it, because I'm rewarded inside of doing that. I'm solving a problem because it's fun, because I want to. I'm wanting to get better at something more and more, not just because my teacher demands it, because my parents expect it, but because I want to do that for myself. This is the long-lasting motivation. You see, William Yates once said that education is not the filling of a pail, but it's the lighting of a fire. And that fire will go on and on and on in all areas of your students and even in yourselves. So how does this show up in the classroom? Well, when we only use rewards, students may ask the question, well, what do I do to get this? Or I'm not really motivated or interested in this particular project or subject, but, will you give me something for it? And then once they get that reward, they kind of forgotten what they did. I mean, the goal was the reward. Once they got it, whatever they learned from that is just really not going to stay. But when we inspire from within, we simply ask the question, can I try that again? I want to learn to do it better. How can I do it to be better? You see, great teachers balance both kinds of this motivation, both intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. So here are some ways that we can boost intrinsic motivation in our classroom. For example, we can give choices. We can let students choose topics and books that they want to do. We can create it in real-world connections. We can show how learning matters not just in school, but also outside of school. We can encourage a growth mindset. And this is really, really important because it's not just about the student regurgitating or obtaining knowledge that we give them. It's really all about them learning it so they can apply it for the rest of their life. And so when we encourage that growth mindset, praise effort is more essential than just results. This fosters curiosity. This causes our students and even you as the educator to ask the why questions and even to explore cool ideas that you yourself may have come up with. Also, it gives us an opportunity to celebrate the small wins. This helps students see how far that they've come on their own with your guidance, of course. But it also shows them that when they have that fire within, they are motivating themselves out of a love and out of something that they want to do. But we can also use eccentric motivation. We can use this is also right. We can kind of use it as a starter. It's really not the main course. It's really not the main idea. In fact, it's probably the pump that puts the gas in the tank. And then eccentric would be the gas that keeps us going. But you don't have to give up. And that matters more than the grade. And that's kind of the mindset that we want our students to have. We may give specific praise about something. I saw how hard you worked on that. We may also set clear goals, and in those clear goals, there is an achievement at the end. It is a means of and of itself that we are looking to give a reward or something back for them learning. So tell me what you've learned, and why did you want to learn that? Well, I wanted to learn that because I was really interested, versus, well, I learned that because you told me I had to, and because I get to have a pizza party afterwards. You see, over time, we can start with this kind of motivation, but we really need to shift the focus on personal pride and purposes. I mean, let's really admit, our responsibility as educators is to educate, is to engage, and it is to encourage. And that's all part of our motivation. There's an old term that I've often referred to when it comes to our faculty and staff and even our students here at this school, and that's simply exitus acta probat. And it's just Latin. It's a Latin term. It stands for action produces results. So there's an action. We want a result, but how is that going to be produced? Is it going to be just because there's a reward or there's an applause at the end, or because there's pressure and a have to? Or is it because the student wants to? They're engaged and encouraged in their education. Well, let's talk about what this may look like as we are encouraging our students and encouraging one another. We can use terms, for example, I'm proud of how you stuck with that challenge. We can use terms with like, you don't give up, and that matters more than a grade. Or, isn't it cool how your brain figured that out? These words help students believe in themselves. And by the way, sometimes we have to believe in the student before they believe in themselves. And when they believe in themselves, they'll want to be the one to keep going. So let's wrap this up. How can we keep the fire going? Well, we got to remember that motivation isn't one size fits all. Every student, every diversity in our classroom, adult, this is true in any of our relationships or anything that we're doing in life, is that motivation isn't a one size fits all package. We have to figure out what encourages motivation to the people that we're around best. But I will say this, why motivation isn't a one size fits all, there is a spark in every single student. There is a spark in every single person. So our job as educators is really to find that. And when we find that, we feed that. And not only are we going to feed that, but we want to fan it into a flame so that they can be successful in everything they do. We want them to be the best that they can at everything that they put their hand to. You know, Maya Angelou once said that students may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So let's be the reason that students believe that they can. We're putting the gas in, but let's give them the gas to keep on going and be motivated to do it. Let's build classrooms where students want to learn, not just because they have to, but because they love to. Not out of an obligation or a pressure for a reward or a sticker, but because they really genuinely want to learn that. That's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. And not only that, let's use motivation that's in us. We all are products of people that have invested in us and motivated us, so let's do the same thing for our students and the people that are around us. You get your cup of coffee and you just think of ways that you have been motivated in ways that you can motivate. Let's light the fire.